Well, according to Scientism, the claim that ethical and religious conclusions can be just as factual as science, and therefore ought to be affirmed like scientific truths, may be a sign of bigotry and intolerance. It's a coding. It's a if you find someone that says this, well, you can kind of dismiss everything else that they say because they believe certain things about certain people and they disapprove of people's lifestyle and they just view everyone as what is pretty much every bad guy character in a Stephen King novel is for this idea of religious bigots in the stories. But before looking in more in depth at scientism, the view that hard sciences alone have the intellectual authority to give us knowledge of reality, he's going to show us some concrete examples of scientism taking place and how it's part of everyday common sense. And so this is a good deal that he does, I think, because it offers us kind of that day-to-day interactions that we might see in the world in different areas too.
And I might mention, and we've done Nancy Pearcey's book, Finding Truth. She does this as well. She quotes several contemporary scientists and philosophers with regard to this notion. She doesn't really call it scientism, but naturalism is what she is attacking in her particular chapters there. And so if you want some other examples of this, you might want to look at her book as well, Finding Truth. But Moreland gives us a few people here as examples of the kind of thing that he's talking about. For instance, Michael Kinsley, he gives as an example or an illustration of scientism. He says on June 25th, 2001, Time magazine featured an article by journalist Michael Kinsley defending stem cell research on human embryos. And he tells us that Kinsley wrote, these embryos are microscopic groupings of a few differentiated cells. There's nothing human about them except potential. And if you choose to believe it, a soul. So there it is, right? Nothing human about them, right? They perhaps potential. And of course, if you believe it, then, maybe a soul.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something there that can be off to the side. I remember the early days of 2001 before anything bad happened, where we could just talk about stem cell research, but a different take.
That's right.
So he talks about this where the ideas of stem cell research, embryology, that's the hard stuff. That's the stuff we should be concerned about, and kind of utilitarianism, right? So it's helpful, it's useful, whether or not personhood is there or the soul or whatever else that you want to talk about. We're not talking about human life, we're talking about potential life.
Right. And those things are beliefs anyway,
right?
They're not real hard, something to grab hold of and understand and help us to pursue knowledge and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So he's going to have a couple different issues with this claim, and rightfully so. So the first thing that he's to note about Kinsley's conclusion is that it's bad science, claiming that there's nothing really human about human embryos, which is itself a scientifically absurd statement. It's contradicted by all the standard textbooks of embryology, right? What type of embryo is it? It's a human embryo, right? From humans. It's not this amalgamation of different elephant parts and simians and everything else. No, humans produce human embryos. I know science can be hard a little bit for people, but that's just the way all life has gone since the beginning, even though they don't want to admit it.
So are you saying human embryos aren't human?
There's got to be something, but I think he just wants the sweet nectar that comes from the embryos for his own nefarious purposes.
Gotcha.
So it's unscientific, but that's not his point here. Rather, he wants to draw your attention to the part of Kinsley's sentence that you may not have noticed. So reread it carefully or scroll back and listen to what we said again and note what he presupposes. We know scientific facts about human embryos, but we only believe things about human souls. For Kinsley, a belief in a soul is not an item of knowledge. It's a view. There's no evidence for it. So it's like, liking the Detroit Tigers versus, the New York Yankees. It's just a personal preference that you have, but there's no scientific thing that you can do to bolster that claim. It's just a personal feeling. Michael Kinsley is not advocating science here. He's expressing scientism.
So there it is. Science is the key to knowledge. It's the only knowledge we have. The rest of that stuff is just your beliefs, right? Kind of thing, right?